trying to make it look like a burglar had shot Larry dead.
But we didn't want to pigeonhole ourselves or jump to the gun too quickly that, oh, the wife did it. We wanted to make sure everything was completely investigated.
So they look at all possibilities, asking Rebecca if she knew why anyone would want to kill Larry.
Did your husband have a problem with anybody? Was anybody angry with him?
No, absolutely not.
And as detectives continued to look for evidence, including the murder weapon and Larry's missing Jeep, they also delve into the private lives of Mr. and Mrs. Fenton.
Everyone really talked about what a fairy tale marriage they had.
Including Rebecca herself.
Perfect, blissful. I had the life.
But Sergeant Carrie Spaulding is skeptical.
It was something that just isn't even realistic in the best marriages, and not everything is a Cinderella story from the moment you wake up until the minute you go to sleep.
Learning what really went on behind closed doors wasn't going to be easy, though.
And that was a little bit of a stumbling point because Larry never confided in anyone that there were issues between him and Rebecca.
Rebecca tells detectives the couple largely kept to themselves.
We're very private. We're not socializers, really.
But detectives would uncover a shocking secret as they looked into Rebecca's past. Learning that for 7 years she'd been a high-priced call girl, once arrested on prostitution charges. And Rebecca doesn't deny it.
So you admit to all of that?
Absolutely.
And you admit you were with an escort service?
Yes, it was.
Rebecca is also, surprisingly, unapologetic.
Was it the money?
It was the money, it was the excitement, it was the fancy restaurants, the places I got to travel to, the people that I was meeting. I think there was a warped sense of control in all of it.
But Rebecca says that doesn't make her a murderer.
One has nothing to do with the other.
Unless perhaps Larry had just learned about her past before he was shot dead, which Rebecca insists is not the case.
At what point did you confide in Larry and say, Larry, I've been an escort for 7 years?
It was right before we started talking marriage.
How did he take the news?
He looked at me and said, that's done and over with, that's behind you now. Is there anything about it that you still find attractive? And I said no, and I was done at that point. And we never looked back. We never talked about it again.
But it would still pique the curiosity of investigators.
That didn't really weigh as far as her guilt or innocence in this case. It just made us look more into her background.
They would learn that, sure enough, Rebecca and Larry were having problems, and she had become a bored Clearwater housewife.
At what point in your marriage did you become bored?
I'm going to say right after we tied the knot.
Right after?
I had too much time on my hands. I was so used to working and flying here and doing this and doing that and sort of having my own bank account and doing my own thing. I didn't know how to share. I had to learn how to be married. I remember feeling a little lost. I remember just kind of thinking, who am I now?
Investigators dig some more.
And then we started finding out about someone that she was romantically interested in.
A younger man named David, a prep chef at a Clearwater restaurant.
Was she interested, or were they having intimate relations?
I could never prove that she actually had intimate relations. Do I believe she did? Yes.
Sergeant Spaulding says she learned Rebecca and David had a secret meeting place.
They met at a hotel.
Yes.
But both David and Rebecca would insist to detectives that nothing happened between them.
Did you ever cheat on Larry?
No. No, I didn't.
Were you seeing anyone at the time of Larry's death?
No.
You didn't have a boyfriend?
No. I didn't have a boyfriend.
Rebecca does concede, however, that David was a close friend she found attractive.
We did not have an affair. There was no involvement between us. There was nothing sexual between us. It was a crush.
And detectives can only wonder if Rebecca's husband might have found out about David.
So, again, the only people who know what happened behind those doors are her
And David.
and David.
Correct.
But they would develop a theory that Larry had fallen victim to a fatal love triangle.
I believe that Rebecca was probably telling David that she was going to leave Larry. I think David realized he's not going anywhere and he'd had enough, so he cut it off. And I really think that was her motivation, and that turned her into a tailspin.
Ending in her husband's murder.
At this point, did you feel like police were looking at you as a suspect?
I remember thinking to myself, what happened, and being real scared.
Next, detectives think they have enough evidence to arrest Rebecca when they find the murder weapon in her car, until they get some stunning forensic test results.
How could she avoid having gunshot residue on her person?
There's some questions here that aren't making sense to me.
They're not making sense to us either.
But they don't have a scrap of evidence until they locate Larry's missing Jeep Cherokee 2 days later, just a block away from their home.